The brass bell above the door of Chen's Apothecary chimed for what Marcus Davidson assumed would be the last time. The real estate developer strode in with his usual air of entitled confidence, flanked by his demolition team and legal counsel. "I'm Sarah Chen, 35, third-generation owner of the last traditional apothecary shop in River Heights. The store my grandfather started a century ago was more than just a business. It was a piece of living history, a bridge between traditional Chinese medicine and modern healthcare." "Ms. Chen," Marcus adjusted his Italian silk tie, "I trust you've had time to reconsider our offer. The demolition permits have been approved, and frankly, your continued resistance is just delaying the inevitable." I looked around my shop, at the gleaming wood cabinets my grandfather had hand-carved, the wall of carefully labeled drawers containing herbs and remedies, the old counter where 3 generations of Chens had helped heal their community. "Actually," I smiled, wheeling out a battered metal box from behind the counter, "I have something you need to see before any demolition begins." Marcus sighed theatrically. "Another delay tactic? The Historical Preservation Board already ruled that this building doesn't qualify for protection. Progress can't be stopped by sentiment, Ms. Chen." "This isn't about sentiment." I placed the box on the counter. "This is about a legally binding condition placed on this property in 1922, when Mayor William Harrison helped my grandfather establish this shop." The developer's lawyer, Elizabeth Morton, stepped forward with interest. "What condition?" I opened the box carefully, revealing documents preserved in protective sleeves. The mayor buried this time capsule beneath the foundation stone. It was only to be opened if someone tried to destroy the building. "Inside is a deed restriction that might interest you." Marcus waved dismissively. "Any ancient restrictions would have shown up in our title search." "Not this one," I interrupted, pulling out the first document. "Because it wasn't filed with the property deed. It was filed under a special act of the city council, recorded in their private archives. An act that's still in force." The lawyer took the document, her eyes widening as she read. "This is unusual." "What?" Marcus snapped. "It's a perpetual covenant," Elizabeth explained slowly, "tied not to the property deed, but to the city's founding charter. The building can never be demolished as long as it serves its original purpose, providing medical care that bridges cultural traditions." I pulled out more papers from the box. Mayor Harrison's wife had been seriously ill. Traditional doctors couldn't help her, but my grandfather's remedies saved her life. The mayor was so grateful. He ensured this shop would always have a place in River Heights. Marcus's face darkened. "That's impossible. No property restriction can last forever." "Actually," Elizabeth cut in, "when it's tied to a city charter as a matter of public health policy, it can. Especially given the unique historical context." She showed him another document. "This isn't just a deed restriction. It's a public health ordinance designating this building as a permanent medical heritage site." But there was more in that time capsule. Much more. As I prepared to reveal the next document, I thought about what my father had told me before he died. "The shop holds more secrets than just medicines, Sarah. Sometimes the most powerful remedy is truth itself." Marcus must have seen something in my expression. "What else is in that box?" "History," I replied quietly. "The kind of history that certain people might prefer stays buried. Like the real reason this neighborhood was suddenly rezoned for high-rise development after a century of historic protection." The developer's confident facade cracked slightly. He knew what I was talking about: the mysterious city council vote, the rushed rezoning process, the whispered allegations of bribery that no one dared speak aloud. "Your luxury condo project," I continued, "isn't the first time someone's tried to demolish this block. The time capsule includes records of every attempt, and why they all failed, including some interesting notes about certain political families in River Heights." Elizabeth was reading another document from the box, her professional composure slipping. "Mr. Davidson, we need to discuss this privately. Now, because this wasn't just about saving one historic building. This was about exposing a century of corruption, of deals made in shadows, of power wielded against the public good. And my grandfather, with the help of a grateful mayor, had prepared for this moment decades before I was born." "The demolition crew can go home," I said calmly. "Because once the contents of this time capsule become public, a lot of people are going to have some explaining to do." Marcus's face had turned an interesting shade of gray. "You're bluffing. Those documents can't possibly. Want to bet your entire development company on that?" I picked up another folder. Should we start with the real estate holdings of council members' families in 1922? Or jump straight to the current property records showing some interesting patterns of ownership? Because the time capsule hadn't just preserved history, it had protected truth. And in River Heights, truth was about to become the most powerful medicine of all. The time capsule contained more than just legal documents. As I pulled out the next folder, the sweet scent of aged paper filled the shop, mixing with the herbal aromas that had perfumed this space for a century. These, I said, laying out a series of photographs, are from Mayor Harrison's personal collection. He was meticulous about documenting everything, including meetings that certain people claimed never happened. The photos showed gatherings in smoky back rooms, handshakes between politicians and developers, faces that belonged to River Heights' most prominent families. Names that still appeared on building plaques and street signs throughout the city. That's Elizabeth Morton squinted at one photo. That's Gerald Davidson. Your grandfather, isn't it, Mr. Davidson? Marcus's face went from gray to white. His grandfather had been a powerful real estate magnate in the 1950s, known for urban renewal projects that had destroyed immigrant neighborhoods. Mayor Harrison didn't just create a legal protection for this shop, I explained. He created an archive of every corrupt deal, every displaced family, every piece of River Heights' hidden history. He knew someday someone would need this evidence. But why? Marcus found his voice. Why would a mayor document his own city's corruption? I pulled out a letter, carefully preserved in its original envelope. Because Mayor Harrison was dying when he created this time capsule. He'd seen how power could corrupt, how money could erase history. He wanted to leave behind a way to fight back. The letter was addressed to my grandfather, Li Chen. My dear friend, by the time you read this, I will be gone. The cancer moves quickly, though your remedies have given me precious months with my family. I leave this record in your care, knowing that someday others will try to destroy what you've built. The capsule contains more than just evidence of past wrongs. It contains proof of a pattern, one that continues to this day. Watch for these signs: sudden rezoning, rushed council votes, mysterious property transfers. When you see them, open the capsule. The truth it contains will be needed. Your shop is more than just a business. It is a testament to the real healing River Heights needs, not just of bodies, but of the corruption that sickens our community's soul. Use these truths wisely. William Harrison. Elizabeth Morton was rapidly taking notes, her legal mind clearly processing implications. These records, they show a consistent pattern of property manipulation going back a century. The same families, the same methods. The same corruption, I finished. Including the current rezoning that made Mr. Davidson's project possible. Would you like to see the proof of which council members own shell companies that recently bought up surrounding properties? Marcus slumped into one of the shop's old wooden chairs. How long have you known about this? My father told me about the capsule on his deathbed last year. Said I'd know when it was time to open it. I began laying out more documents. When the rezoning vote happened so suddenly, when your project was approved without proper community review, I knew that time had come. The demolition crew had quietly disappeared, sensing the shift in power. Elizabeth was still reading, her expression growing more concerned with each page. Mr. Davidson, she said finally, we have a serious problem. These records don't just document historical corruption. They provide evidence of current criminal activity. Multiple violations of ethics laws, zoning regulations. And something else, I added, pulling out the final folder. Evidence that certain traditional remedies in this shop can treat conditions that modern medicine struggles with, including the rare cancer that killed Mayor Harrison, the same cancer his great-grandson, current city council member Robert Harrison, is secretly battling. Marcus's head snapped up. Robert Harrison is sick? Terminal diagnosis 3 months ago, right before he changed his vote on the rezoning. I opened one of the shop's ancient drawers, removed a small package of herbs. My grandfather developed this formula for Mayor Harrison. It gave him an extra year of life. His great-grandson doesn't know it exists, because certain people have worked very hard to dismiss traditional medicine as worthless. The implications hung in the air like incense. A century of corruption, of dismissing immigrant knowledge, of trying to erase traditions that could help people, all to make way for profit. What do you want? Marcus asked quietly. 3 things, I replied. First, your development project ends. The historic district stays intact. Second, you support new zoning laws protecting traditional businesses like mine. And third, I held up the herb package. You helped me reach Robert Harrison. Because some things are more important than real estate deals. The changes that followed transformed River Heights. The exposed corruption led to resignations, reforms, and a new appreciation for the city's diverse heritage. Robert Harrison, after beginning treatment with my grandfather's formula, became a champion for integrating traditional medicine with modern healthcare. Marcus Davidson surprised everyone by reinventing his company, focusing on restoring historic buildings rather than demolishing them. The knowledge that his family's wealth was built on destroyed immigrant neighborhoods had sparked something like redemption. Chen's Apothecary became a model for cultural preservation and medical integration. Doctors from the university hospital began collaborating with me, studying the effectiveness of traditional remedies. The shop's wooden cabinets now held both ancient herbs and modern research papers. The time capsule's contents were donated to the city archives, with copies held by watchdog groups to ensure transparency. Its revelation had lanced a century-old wound, allowing real healing to begin. 1 year later, I stood behind the same counter where my grandfather had first served Mayor Harrison. The shop had been restored, its history now proudly displayed alongside its remedies. Medical students interned here, learning to bridge cultural traditions and healing. Robert Harrison, his cancer in remission, often stopped by to share stories about his great-grandfather. He knew, he told me once, that real healing takes more than just medicine. It takes truth, justice, and respect for traditions that are older than our ambitions. The developers who had once dismissed Chen's Apothecary as worthless now pointed to it as an example of successful historic preservation. The block around it thrived as other immigrant-owned businesses returned to their roots. Marcus Davidson's daughter, studying to become a doctor, started interning at the shop. "I want to understand," she said, "how medicine can heal more than just bodies. How it can heal communities." The brass bell still chimed above the door, but now it welcomed a new generation seeking both traditional remedies and historical truth. The wooden drawers still held herbs that had healed River Heights for a century, while computers documented their effectiveness for modern research. Mayor Harrison's time capsule had done more than save one building. It had preserved something more precious: the understanding that a community's health depends on honoring its past while building its future. In the end, the most powerful medicine wasn't in any of my grandfather's herbs. It was in the truth that had waited patiently beneath the foundation, ready to heal the corruption that had sickened River Heights for generations. The developer who had called my shop worthless had helped prove its true value, not just as a place of physical healing, but as a guardian of community memory and justice. And every time the brass bell chimed, it rang with a century of vindication.